Hi friends, I have done something that I promised myself I wouldn't do. I even tried putting myself on a ban. And so that is, I bought a ton of books. I am not sure how much books that I bought and we're gonna haul today, but I'll definitely put the number of books that I bought in the title or in the description. So let's just get this started. I have divided it up in some categories. So the first category is fantasy. Most of these are books in a fantasy series, except for this first one. So the first book is The North Wind. I really don't know anything about this book other than it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And the reason that I picked this up is because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I read Entreat Me a little while ago, and I loved that book. So I'm hoping that this will be just as good. I don't know if this book falls into YA or adult. I really just saw on the back that it was a Beauty Beast retelling and added it to cart. I'm gonna be really upset if this isn't any good because I spent actual money on this. And now actually the next set of books are books within a fantasy series. So the first one is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is the only R.F. Kuang book that I own, and I actually haven't read any of her books before. This one is hella long and it's been getting good reviews on Goodreads, so I figured let's just try this one. I don't actually know what this is about, so I'm just going based on the reviews that are on Goodreads and the hype that it's been getting on BookTube. I only bought the first book because I don't know if I'm gonna like it, and I didn't want to go in deep and buy the entire series if I don't end up liking it. And then the next two set of books are Vengeful and Vicious. Now, Vicious is one that I've read a while ago. I want to say I probably read it in like 2016, but we're following Eli and Victor, I believe, and it's kind of like a superhero story. And I remember when I read Vicious that I really liked it, and then V.E. Schwab wrote Vengeful a while later. So I want to reread Vicious and then obviously read Vengeful for the first time. And then the next two books I have actually already read, and that would be Rise of Empire and The Heir of Narvran. Now these books I read a couple of years ago. I actually have the first one, which is Theft of Swords, up on my shelf, and I obviously have already read that one too, but I want to reread this because it has a lot of world building, and then there's a prequel series that I believe are a 6 set of books that I actually want to read. Each of these books are a bind up of 2 books, so technically there's 6 books in this series. This is the main series. There's like the prequel set, like I want to say like a couple thousand years ago, and then there is the books that come after the prequel, and then these are like the main series books. So you could probably consider this the third part of a huge fantasy series. And then the next 2 books, I'm gonna have to look at the titles to read it. The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. These titles are very, very long. I think these are YA fantasy books. Don't know what these are about, but hopefully I want to get into these kind of soon, because again, this is another book series that I feel like is getting rave reviews and I want to read it. I'm not really that into YA, but I'm like willing to give YA a chance. I did a video a while back where I gave YA a second chance and I ended up really liking the books that I picked, so maybe I'm back in my YA era. And then the next category of books are hockey romance. So the first book that I got is The Chase and the Dare. Actually, I bought The Dare first, thinking that this was the first book in the series, and then realized it wasn't, and then I went and bought The Chase. So I have book 1 and book 4 randomly. I don't know if you have to read these in order for it to make sense. I probably won't be, but this is a set of hockey romance books based out of college. Kind of think of it in the same vein as Icebreaker. I'm excited to read this for a video that's coming out soon. And also these books are sprayed edges. I don't know why they decided to do that. I don't know if these books are highly popular, but we shall see. I'm excited to be in my hockey romance era. And then the next 2 books I bought is Pucking Around and Pucking Wild. This is a beloved hockey romance series, and I'm kind of scared to read these books because I know that people on the Patreon, Jana, I'm looking at you if you're watching this, have deep love for this series, and I'm just wondering if I'm gonna like it as well. We shall see. I know that I want to read Pucking Around pretty soon and put this in another video that's coming out. And the next set of books are my thriller horror buys recently. So the first one is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Don't know what this is about. You're gonna find that as a theme with most of the books that I hauled here, is that I really don't know what it's about other than getting good reviews on BookTube and on Goodreads. I think I might read this book for Summerween. It will definitely fulfill the prompt of read a book that has more than 5 words in the title. So this is probably one that I need to get to soon in order to make this Summerween. I don't know when this haul is gonna get out, so by the time you see this, I might have actually already read this book, or I might still be looking to read this book. We shall see. And then the next book I bought was The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, and this one I have actually already read. It's about two sisters, Samantha and Charlotte, who have something really horrible happen to them as kids, and then they grow up to become lawyers, and they're estranged, and their dad is a very sought-after defense lawyer, and something happens within present day that brings them back together, and it's an exploration of them as sisters. I think great character development is made here. A couple of plot twists thrown in here. I gave this book 4 stars. I really liked it, and I would recommend it if you can handle very graphic horror thriller scenes. And then the next book I bought was After That Night, again by Karen Slaughter. I don't know what this book is about, really. I just, after reading The Good Daughter and I saw this one, I was like, let me get this one. I think this is her newest release, but I'm excited to read some more Karen Slaughter after I read The Good Daughter, and I really like that. And then the next set of books I bought, I would put them in cozy category. The first one is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Man, after lifting up all those other books, I realized how light this book is, but this is like a time travel kind of book. Apparently there's this coffee shop when if you go to it, it lets you go back in time, but it's more of like a cute, cozy story. So I'm excited to read this one because everyone says that this book is heartwarming, it makes them cry, it makes them feel all the feels, which would be amazing if that happened to me, because I don't cry when I read books. So let's see if this one can bring it out in me. The next book I bought is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. This is a cozy fantasy story. I kind of think of it as Legends and Lattes, but I also think that this is like a queer or sapphic story. I have not been reading a lot of like cozy books lately, so I want to get back into that cozy feeling of reading a book. However, the library hold for the audiobook is like forever long, so it might take me a while before I actually get around to reading this. Okay, so the next category is sci-fi, and this one is a little bit of a stretch, at least for the first book I put in this category. So the first book is A Ministry of Time. I just know that there's a time travel element to this, and if you know anything about me is I love books with time travel in it, but other than that, I really don't know what this book is about. I just feel like it might be giving the Disney Plus version of Loki, but like with no magic, but just like a ministry of time travelers. I feel like if that is wrong, then I'm so sorry, but I really don't know anything about this book other than it has a time travel element to it. And so the next book is Dune. I actually bought this book when Dune 2 came out in theaters because I was just like in that mode of like, oh my god, I want to know everything about Dune. I want to know this story. I want to know the prophecies and all that. But this has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. I will get to read it. I feel like this book is described as like one of the founding fathers of sci-fi, but I have heard that it's kind of boring. It is also really, really long. I haven't actually watched Dune 2, but I actually want to read this before I watch the movie. I mean, Dune 2 has come out months and months ago, but I do really, really want to read this one, and if I like it, I might continue on with the series. A lot of the books that I bought is like, I bought the first one of the series because I don't know if I'm gonna like them, and this is again falling into that category, so we shall see. And the next book I bought is Starfall. The first book is Starflight, I think, and it's up on my shelves, and I bought that book a long time ago, and I really, really liked it. I know that it is a YA sci-fi series, and I remember liking that book, and then I realized that there was a second book that came out a while ago, so I might reread the first one before reading this one, because I think my thing with sci-fi is that I need to read the books in the series like closer together in order for my brain to like comprehend what's happening. That was my fault when I read The Second Rebel. All I remember from the first book is that I think that there's a girl, she's kind of like an outlaw, and she sneaks up on a ship, and there's a guy, I think he's like a muscle man that she falls in love with, but I don't know what this second book is about. It might be following their story, or it might be following a new couple or a new set of the crew on the spaceship, but I don't know. Okay, the next category, I broke it down into 2 because I actually have far too many books in this category. So this first subcategory is dark romance. The first book I bought is Leather and Lark. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. So I really like Butcher and Blackbird, which is the first book, but I have not been hearing great reviews about this second book, which makes me nervous. We're following Leather and Lark. I think Lark is the best friend of Blackbird in the first book, and then Leather is the brother of Butcher in the first book, but I don't really know what the plot or the premise of this is going to be. I do expect it to be dark because the first book was about 2 serial killers falling in love, so I don't know if Leather and Lark, they are serial killers or if they're not, or what's really happening here, but I'm expecting some dark romance messed up stuff. And then the next book I bought was Verity, and you might be wondering, Lexi, why did you buy that book? Colleen Hoover has fallen into 2 camps. You either love her or you hate her. And something about me is that I've never read a Colleen Hoover book, so I don't actually know which camp I'm gonna fall into. But I was on Pango and I saw this one being sold for super cheap. It might look like I have already read this book because, as you can see, it is annotated there, but when I bought this off of the Pango shop, the seller did say that they had some stickies or like tags within the book, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So this is a true test to see if I like Colleen Hoover or not and what camp I will fall into. And then the next book I'm so excited for, and that is June 1st by Jennifer Hartman. Jennifer Hartman probably wrote one of my two favorite romances, and the first one is Still Beating and Lotus. Still Beating, I think, is just a little bit ahead of Lotus, but I love them both. And then I saw this at my local used bookstore, and it's like in such good condition, and it's kind of a thick, chunky book, but I'm excited to read this at some point. And I'm glad I have this specific cover of the book, because the previous cover of the book, and I'll put it on screen here, with the man and that lady, I just thought was so ugly and so awful. So I'm really glad that I found this cover at my used bookstore. I know that this is another dark romance despite this bright, cherry, happy cover, but I think it's two people who can't get together for some circumstances. I don't know why I haven't picked up another Jennifer Hartman, because she's got a lot of books out, and this one is like pretty much really on top of my TBR to read. And then the last category is contemporary romance. So the first book I got was A Wild Love by Elsie Silver. Elsie Silver wrote the Chestnut Spring series, which I really like. I really like the first and the third book in that series, but the second book, Heartless, is actually a dumpster fire. But she wrote this new series. I think this is about billionaires, and I think the first one is about Ford Grant, which I think is either Willa's brother or Willa's father, and it is an age gap romance with, I believe, an employee. This has been getting really good reviews, so I'm excited to read this. And then the last three books might as well just be an Emily Henry category all on its own. The first one is Beach Read. I found this at Half Price Books, and it is in such good condition. I could not believe. This is the one that I had actually already read, and I loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars. It's like an enemies to lovers, kind of sort of about two people who are academic rivals, but then they come together on this kind of like beach vacation where they decide to kind of swap genres of books that they write. And then the next book is People We Meet on Vacation. Now, this is one that I read, I think maybe a couple years ago, and I feel like I read this book in a fever dream, because I could not tell you what happens in this book. I just know it's about two friends who meet in college who go on vacations with each other, but then something happens where they kind of have a falling out, and this story is about them coming together and finding their love for each other. But I read this at a time in my life where things were just not so good, that I don't remember what happened in this book, and it's kind of fallen out of my brain. So I want to reread this and see if it still holds up, if it's still a 4-star read for me, or higher or lower, I don't know. And then the last Emily Henry book I bought is A Funny Story. So this is her latest release, and it is about two people. They have partners who have cheated on them, and then we have these two people that decide, you know, to come together because their partners are not loyal, and then they fall in love with each other, I think. Hopefully I will like this one, because I actually hated the last book Emily Henry wrote, which is Happy Place. I hated that book so much. It's a 1-star book for me. I'm actually planning on reading this book soon. I'm doing a video right now where I give authors I hate a second chance romance edition, and this is on my TBR. And the next category is the Lore Olympus books. Now, they are right here on my bookshelves. There are 6 books. They're quite heavy, so I just went ahead and pulled the first volume off the shelf. This is the Illumicrate edition, where it has like the nice sprayed edges, and it's a hardcover. I just happened to have found all 6 of them online for a crazy cheap price, and I bought it. This was definitely like an impulse buy, but just holding this up, this is like super, super heavy. So I'm excited to have the special editions in my hand. I don't have plans on reading this soon, but it is like a graphic novel book. So this is something that I'll probably speed through. And then the next set of books is my newest hyperfixation. It is my newest love, and that would be Stolen by the Wolves. This is actually a special edition copy, and then this is the regular paperback copy, but this is a Viking Omegaverse book, and I have read the first one and I loved it. The first one is like 300 pages. It's a pretty quick read. I am just obsessed with the story and the main characters, Thrain and Tamsin, and I can't wait to continue on with their story. And then I also have the next 2 books in that series. So the next one is Taming the Wolves, and the last one is Summer Siege. These 2 books are over 600 pages. I know the audio for Taming the Wolves comes out pretty soon. It comes out in the next couple weeks. And I don't know if they're already working on an audio for this, but I'm just so excited. It is my newest obsession. When I finished Still In by the Wolves, I immediately bought the special edition and like the paperback copies because I just wanted them in my person. I wanted them to hold and to love forever. So those are all the books that I bought. I should just never tell myself that I'm gonna go on a book buying ban because I do not do well when I just cut things out of my life cold turkey. Maybe I'll just drill it down to like buying 1 or 2 books a week. If you have read any of the books that I hauled here, please leave a comment below and tell me which one that you have read and what your rating for it is. That's all I have. Please subscribe, please like, please leave a comment, and I will see you guys in another video next week. Bye!